was looking at her different. That was big no numbers. I was Johnny back on the left. Cause I know every bitch is
or on the table, and how they can make some money off of that, and how you can make some money off of that. So don't sell yourself short from the shit that you might have. I don't do it, and I don't want nobody in this room to do it. That's my little tidbit for the day. I'm done with my TED Talk. We really about to get into this shit now. Okay. All right. Yeah. Now that the church service is finished. All right. And as I open my Bible, you feel
college, unless you're working at school 20 hours, which doesn't pay much. Anyway, so I had gotten this job. I was working at an agency. They were paying me in cash, and they made sure to actually not pay a lot because they were paying in cash, right? And so while I was working
for any of those things, like an opportunity of that in the beginning stages when you were trying to just get it together, what is something that you needed to receive more of in that moment, so that way it may resonate with somebody here that may need that as well?
Mm-hmm. I can answer that. I think being an independent artist, you have to really know yourself, and you have to believe in your work of art and your product. And I feel like when it comes to, for example, performing at venues and things like that, you may get there, you may get asked to perform, open for a touring band or perform for, at a really great venue in the city, but we don't really talk amongst each other as much as I think. It's starting for sure, but a lot of the venues just take advantage of artists, and I think thankfully I have mentors, and I went to a music school that kind of contemporary music, so
I'm in between, where I feel like, yes, it's important for people who are gatekeepers and the people who are up in these upper echelons to see us, but I think there's also responsibility of the artist to know our worth, kind of bouncing off what Linka was saying, and being able to know that, first of all, there's only 2 institutions in the state that are really actually giving out grant or funding to artists that are here. Yeah. And if you compare that to other larger cities, I mean, there's some incredible programs that are out there that are providing residencies, providing funding, all kinds of things for artists that don't fully exist here. The majority of the money that's in the state really is just going towards the Thunder, public funding, oil and gas, all kinds of things. Yeah. But when it comes to the arts, it seems to be something that's a part of almost every extension of a mission statement for the majority of companies that are here. So they know that there are artists that are here, they know the work that we're doing is valuable. Just, it kind of comes down to a lot of places are like, oh, well, $500, that should be, paint a wall for $500. And it's like, well, that's not the actual total cost of production. So a lot of what I end up having to do when I have opportunities with clients that are inquiring about that, there's a lot of education that happens with the clients and having to explain to them, here's the process, there's research, we have consultations, I want to be happy with
serving our shit. So we need to have these conversations about me. I never wanted to be the $75 girl. When I started doing styling, $75 an hour off the rip. Now you can't even talk to me for $75 an hour. That's a consultation. So if I'm sitting there, and even if the times are rough, I know the value of my work or what I want to put forward. Sometimes you got to take a free gig. Sometimes you got to see the value in what other people are building, but never sell yourself short, and be confident in what you're selling out there and how you're putting it together and packaging it. Send the email. I'm telling y'all right now, send it. If you sitting there, you going over numbers, like, I need more, go get more. Because 9 times out of 10, if they come into you and ask you about the service that you're providing, they're willing to pay for it, but they will never tell you how much money they got in their wallet. Make their fucking pockets hurt. I mean that shit. Make it bleed to that point. Because at this level, we are struggling. There's no reason for us to be struggling and striving the way that we're doing without us asking for more. Because if you think about it, if it's a plumber, somebody to fix your computer, all these other things, they'll pay for that. They'll pay $3,000 to get the system up in the building, the lights and stuff up, but you won't pay me to decorate the building that somebody comes in and gets inspiration for. You won't pay me for the track, for the feature. You won't pay me for putting the art and creativity on it, all of these different things. Go for that shit. And every time that you make a successful approach to that, go up more. Go up another dollar. Go up 10%. You try $75 this time, $150 the next time. That's how I go. And then you continue to see yourself in these different brackets. Now going back to these industries that we are in, because I'm gonna get a period of time, not in general, just like in the period of time where we are and seeing it and how it is. Like, do you see, like, no, it's making more fire under my ass to do more better work to get to them places where I need to be, or is it giving you like a chance to be like, because I'm gonna be honest with you right now, I'm in a place with the music part, I'm just like, I'm gonna pivot, I'm gonna go do some other stuff behind the scenes, I'm gonna go look at this, I'm not gonna rap, I'm not gonna do none of that stuff right now, because it's until they get it figured out. And I want to know if any other artists are
background, because I do have a full-time job, so music, I came to it with so much passion, so it became something that I love, and when I started to do music full-time, that's what I tried, kind of quitting my job, doing music full-time. Me personally, I felt it took away from the beauty of it. It took away when I started thinking about money at this point when I'm still learning, you know, because I'm still kind of finding my worth in music, I'm still finding my sound, and I slowly started to realize that thinking about all of that, you know, because you have to separate yourself from the marketing side of your brain to the creative side, because when you make that switch, you cannot be creative because you're in the marketing mode. So that was the hardest part for me when I quit my job. It's just like, okay, I know the music side of it, the marketing is something I'm still learning. So to your question, like, I do think there's that sort of crash grab going on in the music industry, but I feel like as I find music of people that I truly love and seeing their numbers not being big, and I realize that it's because they are more fan based, right? So they're basically providing merch at their shows, they're doing shows for a smaller group of people, they're still making subsistence based on the music. So there is like two conversations here. It's like, is music more of a, you know, like this, you know, for me it's a passion, like really intense passion, and for, you know, because I have this kind of decently lucrative job on the side, you know, I come from a different perspective, and music is, I want to keep it as sacred as possible and only do stuff that I love to do. And I think when I do that, I started to find more and more people that listen to my music, because I realized over time that, you know, your confidence shows up in your music, even if you're not seen, like it shows up in your songs. And slowly, as I get more and more confident, more and more sort of passionate about what I do, I've forgotten the aspect of it of making money from it, because
you know, it's literally next year is gonna be 10 years of me immigrating to America. So I'm pretty fresh, you know. And you know, just thank you guys. Being able to do the work I do, I feel incredibly lucky. And to be inspired in times like this, you know, I say be curious. Like, for me, curiosity and watching what's out there, who's making what. You know, for me, there's like no labels. The clients I work with, the brands I work with, you know, I'm so lucky that, you know, I've gotten those opportunities because they're just so global that they never place a label on the work. When I'm working for Tim's, they never tell me what to do. They tell me, we want the yellow boot to feel hyped. Go make it. And when you're given that amount of creative freedom, then the whole world becomes like your playground. And for me to be inspired in spaces like that, I watch, I listen, you know, I observe. It's funny because, like, you know, being a commercial director, like, I watch more commercials than I watch films or like other visuals. Like, it's funny, like, me and my wife, you know, we'll go on a date night, we'll come back home, you know, light a joint and watch commercials. Like, and that's just something that I've followed, and I love to be inspired by what other artists are doing and hearing the process that goes behind it, and then applying that to my work. And, you know, I really like what Linka said and Sandeep said, that being on your own league is so important in these times. Because, like, dude, you don't want to be in anyone's, you know, path. Like, be on your own path. Do what you want to do. Be authentic. Be yourself. That's it.
More conversations that need to be happening outside of this room for us to understand why Oklahoma. So why Oklahoma? Why Oklahoma for y'all?
Yeah, for me, well, it definitely started because of a job opportunity for my dad.
Mhm.
And I know that's pretty direct and matter of fact, but we moved here for a better life.
Okay.
Now, why I stayed here is because of the community, of the people. I connect so much with the people here more than anywhere, truly. And I think about this interview often with Alejandro Iñárritu. He's a Mexican director, and he states in one of his interviews that for anything to be universal, it must be local.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed my life. And
Oklahoma City since I graduated. I've had many times where I've told myself, I'm gonna move to a bigger city, I'm done dealing with this state, there's just not enough support here, financially, community-wise. I mean, full transparency, I'm one of like a handful of Black muralists in this city and really in the state, and it can be very challenging many times. And that's just from dealing with business and advocating for my worth, or getting like actually like harassed by microaggressions when I'm out painting in public because it's such a conservative state. And it's not even so much someone just trying to like crap on me, it's just they're like, what are you doing out here?
Yeah.
And like, who's your handler?
Yeah.
You know, not like, oh, I'm actually being paid through the city to be out here painting. And so I think for a while I convinced myself that if I moved to a bigger city, that like those problems were not going to exist for me and it was just gonna be easier. And obviously I feel like we've all heard like, you know, big fish, small pond, you know, small fish, big pond. And I think over the years I've heard a lot of more elder artists in this community complaining about the brain drain and just like artists leaving Oklahoma and, you know, why don't they stay here? And I think there's like a disconnect between like the upcoming generation of artists and kind of the older generation and like what worked for them. Like the gallery model is not like, and I'm not trying to like crap on galleries, but the gallery model is slowly dying, and we're kind of this change that you're talking about. We're at this cornerstone where it's like, well, what are we doing moving forward?
Yeah.
What does that actually look like? What does that actually feel like? From business and just from personal, right?
Wait, we all face these type of adversities. People, parents dying, losing a father, not having a two-parent household, coming from this part of town, that part of town. And what I was saying about the shift about what's happening in Oklahoma is that it's forcing us to be a community. Do y'all understand that?
Yeah.
Can we talk for real? Can y'all understand that it's forcing us to be community?
Yeah.
Yesterday I was outside serving the homeless, 500, 600 plus homeless families, not people, families. And it's not a good thing. That's not a positive thing, because how can they get to another level of that or moving past that without community? Without us understanding that there's a problem here in Oklahoma, without us walking past somebody in the bridge like, haha, well, that could be your ass next on some real shit. Honestly, it was my ass earlier this year, living out of my car in Dallas, Texas. Like, that's why I go out and I do the shit that I do. Because it took me understanding that I am one opportunity away from it going that south again. I am one situation away from that happening to me again. What about the people that did a Miro? What about the first Black person to get a YouTube deal? What about us doing that type of things in our NPR? What about those people that don't get the highlight or don't get the segment on the news, but as soon as somebody in the park gets shot the fuck up, or as soon as there's a meth head running around and cut the power lines, they're the first person to that's the news that Oklahoma gets. We don't get nothing else outside of that. So that's why I'm on a passion train right now, to make sure that we bring these stories to the forefront, that we have conversations like this, that we sit and we understand like how detrimental to our creativity and our community that this is. All right, that's it. I'm done. All right, amen. Get your Bible out.
Way they're just thinking about it in a profit sense and not how can we really take these funds and really make it work for us? That's gonna make it better for everybody. And you know, I was just telling an artist at Plaza Walls yesterday, there's a place very similar to this space in Memphis, Tennessee. It's a Memphis listening room, but it's in an old railroad station. It's called the Concord. And you go in this space, it's like they have restaurants, they have a gallery, they have artist venue, they have artist studios, they have a school, they have mental health services, just all kinds of things in this one space. And it would be great to be able to just drive up to a place, park your car, and go there and get all of these needs. We don't have a space like that really here. We're talking about the kids not having any hope. That's really what it's about. Full transparency. I wasn't seeing a doctor or a therapist for years because at the time I couldn't afford having health insurance, and then I realized like, oh, I could apply for Sooner Care.
Yeah.
My copay is $4.
Yeah.
If you go so many times, there's like benefits where I don't even have to pay, and it's like, well, now I'm able to go and see a therapist. And since I've been going and doing that, it's really just been helping me with like taking the stress and the pressure off myself and being able to trust myself again. And it's like there's a lot of people that don't even know that that benefit is out there for them, and they just continue to suffer. And so we obviously have an educational gap here where, you know, the government might come up with solutions, but they're not necessarily getting that information in front of eyes that are needing those resources. And I think as artists, us being able to have these conversations, being able to talk with one another, you know, artists are the only people that can really touch on politics and creatives and the mental health, and all those things kind of converge in all the things that we're doing. You don't get that really in every other industry. And so I think it's really unique to be a creative when you realize that we have those many different avenues living inside of us. Well, pros and cons. I went to a private school when I was younger, and I had a college counselor that told me I would never go to college.
Damn.
And that really affected me at the time because it's like she didn't see my potential, and she didn't even care to even believe that I had any potential. And so I've always been interested in the arts from a young age, and I always kind of was like looking out into the world to see like how I can make this possible for myself. And I just feel like the general thing that I come across the most when I'm speaking with other creatives is really just like people who create things and then they're like, oh, well, I don't have any money left, or, you know, I'm just hemorrhaging money. And I'm like, I've just been filing my taxes as a sole proprietor like this whole time, and saying like the things that I'm doing as an extension of my creation, I'm able to write those things off. I'm able to justify aspects of my lifestyle, and saying that like the business and even just the tax information is something that is so inaccessible across the board, especially in communities of color, or we could just be out here just spending hundreds of dollars and just having no idea that it's like there are people who are spending, but it's in a way where it's going back into their business, and that's how they're able to prolong and kind of stay in the space where they can keep pouring into their creation. So if there really was something that I would tell myself from a younger age, and to anyone that's out there now, is just to keep going, just keep doing research, having conversations, never be afraid to just, you know, if you see someone who's doing something maybe better in a way, and you could feel intimidated by them or think, oh, I'll never be at that level, you'd be surprised just doing a cold call, just asking someone like how they got there, what did you do, or I have questions, like right now Linka and I are in artist entrepreneur program through Oklahoma Visual Arts Coalition, and it's been really interesting because there's some people in the course who they're starting just like from the first step, and some people that have like been in it for a while, or they have an LLC, they're kind of pouring into that, and it's just very interesting to know that there's all these, we have a ton of resources in this state, and there's like no pipeline for the most part to help artists and even just business owners know that that's even available to them. So I think for me, I really like to focus on just like research, looking more, kind of going on what you're saying about the curiosity, just constantly having the curiosity to keep asking why, or, you know, why did we make this decision, or could we do this, can we do that? And what we generally say in the AEP cohort in our class that we meet once a week is like, closed mouths don't get fed. And you have to be able to just ask and know that if you don't ever ask or you don't inquire, then it's actually an immediate no, and you never actually gave yourself the chance to maybe have a yes and to be able to just keep moving forward and building yourself as a business. So really, the taxes, like that's really where it's at. Literally every single person could be out here filing their taxes as a sole proprietor. Like if you're not even an official business, you literally could be doing that. If you're doing things outside of